Welcome to the MFR Coaches podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. We are doing a special series on this podcast for the next 3 episodes, all around tech that heals and building a practice that supports you back. If you're building or growing your MFR practice, today's episode is going to reframe the way you think about your systems, not as a burden, but as a form of business self-care. In this episode, I'm joined by therapist Angie deBorja, a seasoned MFR therapist and founder of Cultivate, Engage, Monetize, which is a business operations and automation platform built specifically for bodyworkers. Together, we're diving into why structure isn't something to resist. It's something that helps you keep going. We'll talk about burnout, boundaries, and the unexpected admin chaos that creeps into even the most heart-centered businesses. Angie shares her own journey of what happened when she tried to do it all and the small tech shifts that helped her stay in the work that she loves. If you've ever said, I'm not a systems person, this episode will change that. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show, Angie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Heather.
Awesome. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I think that people that are listening to this episode are going to get so much information and they're going to be so excited and reinvigorated by what we're going to share. Why don't you start by telling us, how did your MFR practice look like? What did the start of that business look like?
Yes. So I was coming into my practice because of my hospital job becoming unstable, so I left, and then I opened my practice, got my booking software, and it was pretty light for several months, maybe 0 to 3 appointments per week. And then, for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then I invested in maybe a total of 2 or 3 other coaching programs for physical therapists specifically. And I learned a lot in terms of systems and just tactics and things. And it helped some, but I was still struggling a lot because even though I was working my butt off, and I was just felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what.
Could you tell us a little bit, what did working your butt off actually entail? Were you just not sure where to start or who to help or what was going on?
I was going through modules and watching videos and setting up my Facebook page and doing the Instagram and learning about social media posting and what to put and how frequently and how often to follow up and what to say in the email. It was a lot of what to do and what to say and what order to do things, I guess. And at that point, I was oh, this is it. As soon as I learn this, it'll be better. But in the end, it was more okay, when I'm talking to the client or on the phone or after the end of the session, do they buy or do they come? Do they show? Do they show up for more sessions? So all of that learning helped, but the bottom line problem was me closing them on more sessions or even to show up for the first session. That was discounted a lot.
Yeah. What I see in my own business coaching program with people is people want to come into their business. They actually want to do all the background operations stuff, like setting up Facebook, setting up Google, setting up the website, and then they do that. And then they're but where are all the clients? Because we think if we do this, then we'll have clients. But it really is that all of that mindset work around, do you know how to sell? You're selling to clients, and are you able to close a sale when somebody wants to come? When someone finally finds you and comes in, can you say the words that get them to convert into paying clients?
And that was a big thing and humbling realization that it doesn't matter how many tech sites and systems and processes, if I'm not confident in what I say and how I say it, then, oh man, all this money I'm spending on coaching programs really isn't going to get me far. So
yeah. What do you think surprised you most about like when you learned the difference between like what you were paying for and then like what was actually going to really work for you?
I was just blown away because, yeah, like by the time I came into your program, I felt like I knew a lot, but I didn't know the essentials. So, even though I'd been told that the essentials I was learning was what was needed, but for me, it was stuff that needed to be in place even before you start setting up the online visibility stuff. So,
I appreciate you bringing that up because I think a lot of people do think I got to do all this stuff in the background. And I'm kind of like opposite land. I'm like, just start talking to people, like meet people, tell them you're an MFR therapist, make offers to help them, definitely have a website, definitely have online booking, but like really go all in on how you sell and talk about MFR first. And then we can kind of set up the things in the background.
yeah,
So was
totally.
there like kind of point in time after you learned how to talk about and sell MFR where everything else you had set up started to really, really help you? Or was it the right things that you set up? Like, what was that experience like?
I had kind of frameworks that I had, congealed together from the different programs that I'd been in, because some of the things in there didn't sound like me. Some of it I would never say in that way to my patients. So it kind of like was totally, I'm not like a traditional, like a sports physical therapist per se. So my way of speaking to people is more along the lines of how MFR therapists speak, I guess, or maybe. And I don't want to stereotype. Well, anyway, I had to modify a lot of the messages ultimately, which was like, kind of rewriting the whole book and
Yeah.
adding to it. I felt that that was a major need also for long-term success and peace of mind, because we learned so much in the MFR seminars that there is absolutely no way we can really educate our clients on all the aspects that goes into healing. And so although you want to educate them, you also don't want to talk too much, because really they need to know how to be quiet, and both people have to be quiet and grounded in order to get the most out of the session. So then you're trying to like, oh, are they going to buy in or not? Because maybe I should have talked to them more. Gosh, I don't have time because I got to get, should I keep them longer? You don't want to really have to do that. So it's like, how do I do this? I just started with educating right away and creating templatized emails that I'm always tweaking here and there, but that really make them excited for the next visit. So when they schedule a call, I was like, okay, what emails can I send out right away in a sequence so that they're really wanting to get to that first appointment? And then what can I say during that first appointment that's going to really want them to come to the next appointment? And then what can I say in the emails before their next appointment that will really want to have them continue coming,
Yeah.
and then, so it's kind of like a step ladder that you're always trying to have be a few steps of them coming, scheduling more, and then whatever you can automate so that it's not you manually doing the work every time, then great. So that's what I started.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking people are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to create an email every time someone comes in and then customize it to whatever their problem was and then have that drip out over time.
Yeah. Or click send. Yeah.
Find the email first, then customize it, then send it out. Yeah. That could be very overwhelming. And I think if I'm just like thinking back to when I had a brick and mortar practice and I had clients coming in, the only email sequences like I ever sent out were probably like whatever automations came with like massage book or whatever templatized appointment management system I had at the time. And I think at the time I felt like I was barely hanging on by a thread because I was so busy being a mom, being a business owner. And then, you kind of like just do your best to get through the day. And then there's no energy or time left to think about, well, what would make my client experience even better? And then outside of like a bunch of, I think it's kind of a male dominated industry in the coaching industry and like what you're exposed to. And so like none of that ever really appealed to me because I didn't really want to fire hose my clients with all of these things that were, I don't know, not necessary for them to know in order to get my care. So I would kind of ignore any of that kind of advice on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't resonate with what I think my clients would value.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, yeah, it just didn't land like as helpful for me to implement. So
yeah. I think too, like as an MFR therapist, we want to have a real human experience with our clients. So this is where like selling MFR becomes kind of tricky for people, right? Because they don't want to pressure anyone and they don't want to force anything. And in MFR, we never force, of course. And sales can feel very out of body, out of the realm of what we're capable of because we're just healers, right? We put ourselves in that box. But in order to help people heal, we have to be able to sell well and we have to be able to nurture our clients. So I think talking about kind of like the tech side of things, people can also be like, ooh, technology, this is scary. So is there like a point in time where you've ever felt that about technology, or how have you incorporated kind of technology? Like when were you like, okay, technology is going to be a big part of my business and I'm okay with it?
I knew it was only because I've had an interest in like technology since 2017 or 18. So I've always been learning it since then and using it with my previous like fitness coaching online and trying to do a blog and then trying to do Facebook ads in the past for other things. So I'm very familiar with the frustrations of when things don't work at the worst time. So, I'm trying to now use all of that past experience to really zero in on how to like make this be a way to help more patients and clients get lasting healing in a more efficient way with less stress for both parties and less ups and downs, maybe for both parties, like the therapist and the client, because they'll know what to expect. They'll be reinforced, they'll be encouraged in between sessions, and the conversations that they'll might have with the client, with the therapist in person will probably be way more productive because they've been getting education and support in between the sessions. And it's something that the therapist can adjust the frequency or add to it as needed. So
I love that. So if we just go back a little bit, when I introduced you, I talked about you being the founder basically of a tech company. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that is and why you created that and who you created that for?
Yes, I created it because there wasn't anything out there specific for what we do, I felt. There are many automation platforms, marketing systems, email marketing, scheduling, booking, like payments. There's thousands. And, my main thing, and I felt like the main struggle for me was making sure I had a stable flow of clients who believed in the work and wanted to keep coming, and making sure my message that I'm supporting them and that they can get better with help and on their own time. And it's okay to have ups and downs. Like there was nothing that really spoke to that. It was more like an extreme of something that really doesn't apply to how we work, or I work at least with my patients. So I started to just kind of back up and categorize what stages my patients and clients go through, from first reaching out to me or scheduling a phone call or leaving a message, and then the conversation on the phone, which was a lot of how I still connect with new patients. And then if they do schedule, then what steps happen next right away. And then creating what I want them to know and hear over and over, even after they've been coming for a while. I like to, my email nurturing education support is now 14 or 15 emails that just drip out when I'm ready for them to start. And it just goes over all the topics, healing crisis, flare ups, feeling more open, the emotional part. And so it makes me feel more at peace knowing that they're getting those things, because I was getting to the point where, you have some wonderful patients that are getting better, but there are some there that you're just like, oh gosh, I just wish, I don't know if I'm missing anything. And so at least that they're getting a little bit more encouragement so that they're, more likely to have more buy-in to continuing than they would have if they weren't getting any communication from you in between. And so there's been several scenarios I know of that people that I thought might not want to continue do continue because and with less or no resistance or objection or question because I mean
you're answering those objections like through your series.
Yes. Yeah, like I'm not having to really I mean that's my belief. I can't say, "Oh, well why did you say that?" Was it this email or was it this email? But, I really think just having a holistic way of helping your clients off the table and on the table, multimodal education, like I would love to start adding video emails to my messaging just so that they see my face. Like, just how can you make it as much personalized to who you are so that you don't have any competition because they want you and not the clinic down the road?
I like the idea of kind of like taking that into your own hands and like looking really globally at your practice and the steps that the clients go through from start to finish. Like, what is their experience now without this support? And how could I make this so inviting for clients that every step of the journey they're supported on the table and off the table, like you said? How much time do you think that took you to figure out that was something to add in? And how much time did it take you to build that out? Like, how did you manage doing that while you were getting busy with clients? Or were you able to kind of like see it right away while you didn't have a heavy patient load and just like develop this?
I went in waves, like, okay, this seems to be good enough. I'll do these 4 emails and these 5 emails. And then I would go back to them after that's what I've been letting run. And then I read back and I'm like, man, that doesn't sound that good. So then I would just tweak it again. And then,
yeah. So you're kind of willing to like fail a little bit, like get it wrong until you got it right.
Yeah. Like, man, that's too
broy or too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Like blunt or something.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't soft enough for me how I am. And so like, yeah, what is currently that I use, like what I offer now, I wish I had now because now my system is so complicated with other versions and stuff that it's not even what I wish I could just
delete
clear my system and just install what I have now that I built because I have so many iterations in my system of, so anyway.
Yeah. That's like the same with me and like my program. I've been building it over 5 years and I've had to like go in and like weed it out every so often. And sometimes it's like, gosh, I wish it just started out this way, but it's just not how things work.
No. So, yeah. So like the existing iteration is always evolving. So it's just getting better and better. And I'm becoming better at like systemizing how to create a new updated version so I know it's separate and like its own entity, so like change logs, I guess, or like.
How did you find the time to do this? And what did it look like when you were first building it out? Was it like, did you have just like a lower and then you started to build this and kind of perfect it as you went? Did you do this like nights and weekends? Like, how did you have the time? Because you've basically now, like we haven't talked about it a lot, but you've basically created a tech company that is for body workers, for MFR therapists. That would be similar to like any of the other tech apps that are out there that help people automate their businesses. So where did you find the time to do that?
It pretty much was nights and weekends only because I just get all engulfed in it. And when I figure out something, how it can help streamline and save time, it just makes me want to figure out what else can I make more efficient. And I just think it's really cool when something happens with just clicking a button or typing 3 letters or something, that something will.
But when you set out, like, did you set out to develop a tech company or did you just set out to make your own business better?
I wanted to make my own business better and less stressful, like mind wise, and help my patients stay with me longer and help them get better results. But then I'm like, I'm not really one to see myself expanding and hiring therapists, but I still want to help more people. So when I saw that what I'm building and customizing and tweaking could be something other therapists can start using, then that's when I was like, okay, this is how I can scale, is by offering therapists a way to help their clients more efficiently also. So that's kind of
really
like
cool. That kind of started out as like, you built this for yourself. Found out it was like so helpful for you. Then you're like, oh, everybody needs this. So I'm going to keep going with this and make it accessible for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Really
So
cool.
that's kind of how I see it, where it's like, all right, what else can we streamline? Okay,
Mhm.
a referral process. So what if, that was just like a click of a button
Yeah.
and then those emails go out and to both parties, just kind of like,
Let's talk about this a little bit. Like, what are some of the admin tasks that take time away from the business owner, and how has your program automated that? So let's like kind of go in order. Like, what are some of the tasks that this takes off of your plate? If you're an MFR therapist, this is the bundle you've been waiting for. For the month of June only, you can grab the MFR Coaches Legal Toolbox and the MFR website Legal Bundle together for just $299. That's a $698 value, and you're saving $399 when you purchase both this month. This is about protecting the business you're working so hard to grow. Inside the legal toolbox, you get lawyer drafted, customizable documents like your intake form, client policies, HIPAA disclosures, and special consents for things like pregnancy and minors. Everything is written specifically for myofascial release practices. Pair that with the website legal bundle, and now your online presence is protected too. You'll get your disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy designed just for MFR therapists. This is legal peace of mind in one step. No subscriptions, no fluff, just the exact documents you need to run a professional, compliant, and trustworthy practice. Get both bundles now for $299. This deal disappears at midnight on June 30th. Go to themfrcoach.com/toolbox and protect your business today.
like I was already saying before, after I get off the phone with the client and I get them in the computer, and I said, you're going to get an email, you're going to get a text message and a couple welcome emails over the next few days, so that it goes over what we talked about, what you can expect, where to park, and things like that. So that's what I have, like a standard kind of phrasing that I use in my phone calls. And then as soon as I finalize their booking, they have their contact information, like my communication system. And so then at that point, I just add a tag like new client scheduled, start the welcome series. Like I just kind of type that and it pops up, and that will start the welcome series, which at this point for me is 4 emails. And one will go out one day, then another one the next day, and another one the next day. That's how it was working for me great in the beginning. Sometimes I was having it spread out farther and apart, but like now I'm at the point where I need to set it drip out farther because I'm really far booked out. So I have one that goes out, another one that goes out, and then I wait till like 5 days before the actual visit, and then 2 days so that they're not like no reminder.
They remember what they're supposed to remember.
Yeah. So there's that. And then when they buy a package or schedule a series of visits, I have that tag set and just to add to the contact, where it just kind of pops up when you start typing the first few letters. And that's like an email that nurtures or educates every 2 to 4 days, on all the kind of parts of getting better and moving better. And that goes out, I think, between over a 30 to 40 day period, depending on how far out you want to spread the emails. And then like, those are my bread and butter. Those have been the biggest, I think, but like
biggest what? Like, what have you seen from using those?
Just people coming back for more sessions, like it's just an easy conversation, like, hey, what are your thoughts?
I just remember when we first started working together, you were doing this, you like really got your sales down, like how you sell. And then you were like, I don't know, I've been booked out for 2 weeks. Like, that's really, like, I don't want to have to. And now you're like 6 weeks booked out, and you're like, oh, I just changed the automations to go out.
Yeah.
Solved.
Yeah. And now I'm like trying to figure out how to change the automation of the nurture emails, because now it's like they come and then there's nothing for them to come back to until 6 weeks. So now I have to like wait on the so it's new processes based on where you are in your growth.
Yeah. Which is so exciting, right? It's like the system you've created, it works for you where you're at in your business. Not everybody is maybe ready to get a system like this yet, but you could technically start with a system like this and like have it and grow into it as your practice grows.
Yep.
And grow quite quickly if that's your mission, if that's your goal. So it's really fun to see you doing that and like having all these, because I've been able to like watch you build your automations out and like change things, and like, this worked for this one, but now it doesn't work. Now I'm going to do it this way. So
yeah, it's a lot of great learning.
How much time do you think this system saves a therapist by having these automations? I mean, you could speak to your own story or like any of your current clients that are using your program.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I don't know, I would say several out. Maybe it's a hard thing to, I mean, I don't know. Depending on how many patients you see, I would say at least 3 to 5 hours a week, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Easy.
easy. And in terms of, okay, I need to send these emails to these clients. I need to send this recap email to this client. I need to send the one about healing crisis to this one,
You
you
don't
know.
have to remember that though
Yeah.
anymore, which I think like the mental load of having to carry everything and remember
Hmm.
is really not only like overwhelming, but very physically exhausting,
Yeah.
mentally exhausting too.
And I think that's the main cost, is the mental exhaustion
Mm-hmm.
and the mental energy that you could be using toward being present for the
Yeah.
client.
Or relaxing outside of work,
Yes, or turning your mind off in between, you know.
which is so important. Like, I think we need to really emphasize this part of like using a tool like this is, you're paying for the time that you're saving, you're paying for clients not dropping off of your table. Like they're going to stay on your table for longer, more engaged, and they're going to get better results because of that. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
make more money, they're going to get better results, and you're going to have more time freedom. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the freedom comes with when you leave your therapy room and you go home and you don't have to think about your practice. Now, I'll just be honest, like as a business owner, we're always going to have some level of like thought on our business, but not having to worry about like, does that person know my policies? Does that person know like where to go? There's
Mm-hmm.
just so much less of that friction in your brain when
Mm-hmm.
you have an automated system like this. So
Yeah.
what would you say to therapists? Like, there's a lot of myths out there about what it means to you, like have online booking if you're a therapist, or, there's people that are kind of resistant to the tech. So what do you say to therapists who think systems are too techy or unnecessary for small, quote unquote, practices?
Oh, well, to them, I say, you don't know what you're missing until you're open to trying and learning something new. You know, it's kind of like we all didn't want cell phones when they came out, and then
Mhm.
now you can't not have one. So I probably just dated myself, but you know what I mean? It's like, just try it. There is so much opportunity on the other side of learning new things, even
Mhm.
though it's hard. It's so worth it when you do more uncomfortable things than not, because there's only room to grow personally and like financially if you just do the hard stuff.
It doesn't have to be hard. Like, I feel like some of this can be really fun. I just
Yes.
remember, like, in the start of my business, I was constantly like searching for like the perfect online booking or like CRM systems, and they didn't have anything that was automated back then in the Stone Age. So I had something that wasn't even like hooked up to the internet in the beginning. Like I could
Hmm.
put a CD in my computer and like got the software on there and then could like manage people in there. It was very manual. But I I've never been a huge tech person, but I feel like I can figure anything out if I give myself the time and space to do it. And so I would try something and it wouldn't work, and I would like have to sometimes manually upload every single client. And that got bigger and bigger as I went. So you get to a point where it's like 300 clients, even though maybe they're not all seeing you, but
Hmm.
you want to take all of their information with you when you transfer.
Hmm.
Nowadays, you can just download a CSV file and upload it, and bam, you're good. No more manual entry. But
Yeah, if you're using a spreadsheet and
yeah,
not a notebook, you know.
and
um,
not a notebook. Like there's so much value, I think, in like these little techie things that you could do, like putting all of your clients into a spreadsheet if you haven't yet.
huge.
Like
Yes.
what else? Like what are some other like small tech type things that all of us probably have access to if we have a computer that
Yeah.
you think could make a huge difference early on for people that are building their practices?
Yeah. Just one simple thing is just start getting yourself a Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet and just documenting who is in your business and where are they in your business. So
Get their emails.
get their email, their phone number, first name, last name, birth date, tags like, okay, current client, past client, prospective client, referral,
Mhm.
referrer, just things
Like
like
use the information on your health intake form, right? On the intake form that the client is already filling out, like make sure you're transferring that into, like if you don't have online booking yet or any kind of
Mhm.
tech, like into a spreadsheet.
Yes, that you can sort and filter and search. Like,
It's much easier to manually enter that stuff when you have 100 clients or less.
yeah, yeah. And I like to get granular and say, this is a prospective shoulder patient. This is
Mm.
a current shoulder patient. Because I kind of sometimes want to say, how many shoulder patients do I have right now?
Oh, yeah.
How many have it at path?
Yeah.
That's a big part. Maybe I'll do an event on shoulder, because then it helps you narrow down the value if you really go into the.
And it is so interesting too when you get granular like that, is like we do kind of tend to specialize in something unknowingly, right? Like for me, it was like low back and hip
Mhm.
all the time. And like if neck patients came to me, I was like, what? Then I got really good at neck. And then,
Mhm.
so it's just interesting who we call into our practices. And when you do know that very specifically, because you're writing notes down and tracking, yeah, you can like make all your social media go out to people with shoulder pain, just talking by the symptoms about their symptoms. Like it makes everything easier when you know
What you're having, what's coming in,
what's coming in. Yeah. And like, so what do you know about shoulders? Like you could
Mhm.
talk for hours and hours on one area of the body and fill a
Mhm.
lot of people in. Like people will read that and they'll be like, oh, that's me. Like I have this problem. And they'll book an appointment with you.
Yeah. Another thing too that I'm trying to be better about is on a spreadsheet or somewhere is just having an ongoing list of patient stories or like
Mhm.
names and body parts so that you can pull up stories that you can tell on an email or a post.
Without identifying, like you don't even need like client permission because you're not identifying them.
No, it's just like, Joe's shoulder bike ride or something.
Yeah.
So, something that you can pull up and say, oh, I can write something, an email about that. Cause I think the more stories that you can tell, the better the connection. And so that's one thing I'm very much working on now is trying to incorporate stories either personally or from patients or just everyday experiences
Mhm.
so that you're seen as a human and that really wants to help.
And clients can identify with that, right? If you say one phrase that feels familiar to them, like then they feel like they belong
Mm-hmm.
and they don't feel like their problem is too big to be solved, which is just, it's like chef's kiss when someone can see themselves in the thing that you've written or provided on the
Mm-hmm.
internet or in an email or on your website, and they opt in. Like
Mm-hmm.
they already have decided that you're the one that can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as therapists, we need to really like lean into that because so often we're like performance focused, like, oh, we need the client to like us. We need to get the client results right away. We need the client to do this, do that, da, 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 so we can feel like we're really helping. I'm like, what if we just decide like when the client schedules with us, like they've already chosen you. They've already chosen you to be the one that gets to help them. It's such an honor.
That's a challenge, but yeah, that's always an ongoing work.
It's my realm of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think all in all, we are talking in this first episode that you don't need a complex system to feel more in control of your business. Automations definitely save time. What else would you add to people that are kind of like on the fence about like, I don't know, like technology scares me, but I know it could help me. What do you want them to know?
Basically, just write down or type in a note what the outcomes you want for your clients
Mm-hmm.
and what things would help make that happen. And then, kind of working backwards, like, okay, what things would make that more likely to happen, before a visit, in between visits, during visits. Just so I think just getting it all visual and down on paper so your mind isn't overwhelmed about all the different tasks and aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start to batch things. So the more you can just put everything down that you do for your clients, for your preparation, try to like get it all on the paper and then group them into batches so that you can have them be executed in batches somehow
Yeah, chunks at a time.
at some point and somehow. Not that you don't have to know how, but just what are your processes, and just start with one, pre-visit processes, pre-first visit processes, things like that.
Yeah, that's so good. I think too, like it's easy to get overwhelmed, but it's easy to not be overwhelmed by just sitting down for 10 minutes, like set a timer for 10 minutes and write everything you know about your business processes. And like step 1, someone finds me on the internet. Step 2, they call me or they book online. Step 3, I do this. All of that stuff, take 10 minutes, write it down, and then maybe the next day revisit it and be like, am I missing anything?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to execute something, yeah, you can just do it in chunks. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. But I think we have a lot of black and white thinking. We're like, I have to get this all done or I'm never going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you could just literally work on uploading your clients to a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. And then the next time you work on it, you just work on tagging them. And then the next time you just add a notes column and you write down everything you remember about this client. So I think that that's very, very good advice.
Yeah.
So everybody stay tuned because Angie and I are literally doing a series on this. So we will be back next week with an even deeper dive into systems and technology that's going to help your business run smoother and save you time. And we'll be talking even more specifically about what Angie offers. But for now, Angie, did you want to send clients that are listening to this, an MFR therapist somewhere so that they could get in touch with you?
Yeah. I have a few, value items I'm going to be offering in the near future, some, public facing webinars on how to use automation and email and other things. So if you'd like to just stay in the loop on what I'm up to, you can go to the link is CEM and then choiceexpmarketing.com/wait-list. So CEM choiceexpmarketing.com/wait-list. And you can just enter your email there and I'll just keep you updated on what things I have coming in the pipeline.
Awesome. And you never know, there might be some special discount or special offer coming. So I would highly recommend getting on her wait list and staying in the loop. All right, Angie, thanks for joining me today. And we'll be back next week with more on this topic. See you then. Bye.
Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute and rate and review the podcast. I appreciate it. For more information, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The MFR Coach. And check out my website, www.themfrcoach.com for more information. If you are currently not working 20 hours or less and making 6 figures in your MFR business, I want to help you change that. Make sure you tune into the show and get on my email list so you never miss out on important trainings and information. To be the first to find out when we are enrolling next for my 12-month Business Foundations coaching program, get on that email list at www.themfrcoach.com/join. Inside this program, you'll learn how to raise your rate, overcome objections, and sell MFR. You'll become the MFR therapist that never under-earns and never burns out. It's up to us to make MFR mainstream, and it starts with you and your successful MFR practice. See you next week.